what I don't know what I'm talking about. I don't know what I'm doing. I had such good plans for this video, and I feel like my brain is just like, like confetti. It's just like blowing out of my head. It's just like all these ideas and thoughts. I can't even. Hi guys. So today I want to talk about making decisions, because it is something that I have struggled with forever. And I know that many of you probably have the same issue. So I kind of wanted to talk a little bit about a decision that I had to make recently and how I got through it. Some of the tips I will give you at the end for making decisions. The big decision that I had to make, I don't know if you see the boxes in the back. Oh, I feel like Vanna. I'm moving again. Yay! Woo! I feel like there should be like fireworks going off. Yes, not surprising. Yeah, so like I mentioned in the last video very briefly, my husband and I are going to attempt to work things out again. And in order to do that, I need to move back home. Because I really do miss my kids. I feel like I'm missing out on important times with them. And now I kind of understand a lot more about when people say like they came home for their family or their friends, and like, not like I didn't get it before, but I get it even more now. Like you really do, as you're kind of watching other people around you having like holidays and things like that with their family, and then you're not with yours, it's a little like dagger to the heart. So I don't love that. I still love being in the South, and there's a lot of things that I've loved being down here for. I really do like the people. Had a really great time like meeting the new people that I've met, and the sunshine and the warmth are like huge for me. I really love that. So there are things that my brain wants to focus on where it's like, oh, you're going back to Erie where it's freezing and cloudy. And especially at this time of year, like going back in November is just dumb. But I was going back anyway because I was going to go back to spend the holidays with my family. So honestly, I was already headed that way anyway, so it just makes sense that I just ended up, I sold a ton of stuff and I'm moving back. So, but how did I get to that decision? It wasn't as easy as some other decisions. Sometimes you get this gut instinct about making a decision and you just know that that's what you're going with, like that's what you're doing. And I love when that can happen. However, it doesn't always happen often or even often for me, because I do think I have ADD, ADHD, and I think that affects my decision-making ability, because I do have a lot of things going on in my head. And so that, when it comes to making decisions, can make it very difficult. This last decision where it was like, okay, well, do I go home? Do I wait it out? And like, you know, my lease wasn't technically up until the end of April. And so do I just wait it out and wait until then, or do I go back now? I thought it would be a good idea to like drink coffee, but then I just realized that slurping, oh my God, that was something that drove my mom crazy. Like if you slurped, you better look out, because she's gonna knock you out. So like I said, sometimes you have this like gut instinct and you just know what to do. I had that with moving down here. Like I knew that I needed to get away. And I do still agree that that was the best thing for me to do, because in the end, it helped Craig and I to get enough separation from each other that was true separation. Like we weren't seeing each other every week. We even got down to where we were talking like once every couple weeks, really. And I think we really needed that space in order to figure out what we really wanted moving forward. And I knew that I was in this like thought tornado, and I knew that I needed to get out of that. And so one of the first things that I did was reached out to my sister via text, and I kind of told her what was going on and like what we were thinking about doing. And I really was trying to get a sense of like what her thoughts were, because she's very good at telling me what's good for me. She's good at playing like kind of both sides of it. So I thought that she would be good for reaching out to, and just often talking through it, texting it, helps you honestly just kind of understand a little bit better where you're coming from, and helps you make a decision just hearing yourself. So, and then I also reached out to my best friend and we talked on the phone, and that was actually ended up being really helpful because she said, why don't you just make a pros and cons list? And I was like, why did I not think of that? Because when you're in this thought tornado, you can't think straight and you're just like all the things. And sometimes you just need that, like, one person kind of brings you down, gets you quiet, and then tells you something like make a pros and cons list. Duh. So I was like, yes, I'm going to do that. However, sometimes before you even do the pros and cons list, you might literally just want to journal and write everything that you're thinking of. Do a brain dump. That's one thing you can do. Another thing is you want to get to a quiet place. So I like to walk Milo, and I was doing it with intention in terms of my phone. I wasn't getting distracted by my phone. I wasn't listening to anything. I actually went out there with the intention of walking him and being in nature, listening to the birds singing and feeling my feet hit the ground, and just get out of your head. And however you need to do that, if you get a massage, that might also be helpful to just sort of let it all go and get to a quiet space. Meditation also can help with that as well. So then I actually sat down after I got myself to a more quiet place. I was able to actually sit down and make the pros and cons list. Now, one thing I would say about the pros and cons list is it's very helpful in the beginning in terms of just almost like a brain dump, but in a organized fashion. You're like, okay, well, here's all the good things that if I make this decision to move home, here's all the pros about it, here are the cons about it. Sometimes it helps you, it's super, there's a ton of pros and not very many cons, and then it's just well, that's easy. But sometimes it's a little more even, and that was kind of the case for me. It was kind of close in terms of pros and cons, but there were pros over here that weighed a lot more and were much more important to me as a person than some of the cons. So for instance, being with my, honestly, being back together in my marriage is really big. You can't weigh that up against the con of maybe having less people to network with. Those just they're not even. So what I would do is the pros or the cons that weighed more, put a little asterisk try saying that 3 times, an asterisk next to them. And so that just kind of as you see, you're looking at your pros and cons list and you're yeah, your pros are a little bit longer than your cons, but there's also 4 pros that weigh a lot more than these 2 cons weigh. So that can just kind of help you weight it down and bring it more to reality as to how it really evens out. And then why that's important is because once you make that decision, then you can move forward and you can actually make the list of things that you need to do and get it done. So the longer that you stay in that analysis paralysis or not making the decision, you're just staying miserable. It's not good for you. It's not good for your mind. It's really important to take the time and get the decision made so that you can move forward. I just made coffee and I totally shouldn't be having a second cup. But I am. Yeah, just make a decision. Believe you can. And you're halfway there. You guys seen the video of that guy that points out signs and he's like, believe you can, and you're halfway there. And it's just so funny because we all have these, well, not all, I know some people hate them, but some other people like me have signs that say things and they're meaningful to you at the moment, and so you like them and you take them home. But I do get the stupidity behind some of them where it's you have a sign that says home and it's home. Well, duh. Yes, you are home. Do you need a sign to remind you that you're home? I don't know. Anyway. Okay, so some of my tips for making decisions. Eliminate small decisions as often as possible. So all day, every day, we're making decisions, right? You're making a decision to go to work. You're making a decision to like leave at the time that you're going to leave. You're making a decision to eat what you're eating for breakfast or whether to have a second cup of coffee or not. So these are all decisions that you're making throughout the day, and that can really weigh on your brain. If you can get rid of some of those decisions prior to the day, then that would be super helpful. So if you can figure out what your menu for the week for dinner is that week, say Sunday, you write down and you're like, Monday we're having this, Tuesday we're having this, Wednesday we're having this. You already have that decided. Then you can like actually plan and have things ready to go. And it just helps you throughout the week. You're not coming home when you're starving and then being like, okay, what am I going to make for dinner? And then that takes up all that energy. So try to think about things that you're constantly making decisions for that you could maybe not have to be doing that. One thing is Chalene Johnson. I don't know if you know her, but she's like she was a trainer for Beachbody, and then now she is a influencer, I guess you would say. And I remember her saying a long time ago that one of the things she does just to help ease some of her decisions is all of her hangers are the same, like they're all the same. They're all the same color and the same style, literally from the same brand, so that you're not like, have you ever like, you're putting away laundry and you're like, oh, the black hanger feels like it would fit in this one better, or the blue one. Oh, I kind of want this. It's like those are literally decisions that you're making that do not need to be taking up energy for you. So make those decisions early. Have all the same hangers. It's just going to help you. Who is the guy from Apple too? I know you know who I'm talking about, but he always wore the same outfit, like black t-shirt and jeans, and he wore it every day. So that way he didn't have to think about what he was going to wear. That's why one reason I think uniforms are awesome is because you don't have to think about it. You just put it on and you go. Oh, his brain is like, or his name is escaping me and it's really bugging me. Like I know who it is. Help me, help my brain. As soon as I hit stop recording, that's when I'll remember. Anyway, always look for the silver lining. And so whether that is the silver lining of having made the decision, because then you can just move forward, and or the silver lining of the decision made, do both of those. So once you make the decision, be proud of yourself for making the decision. And then whatever that decision is, try to look at the silver lining. So instead of me focusing on the cold weather I'm going back to, I am focusing on, or at least trying to, remember that I'm going to have much more time with my kids, and I'll be able to like go to wineries with them and go to craft shows and, you know, all the things that we enjoy doing together, like we'll be able to do that. So that's huge. And remember that you can always go back, right? So whatever the decision is that you're making, like even when I decided to move down here, I knew I could go back home. It wasn't like, oh, it's an end all be all. Like, no, you just do it. And then if you don't like it, you figure out how to either go back or you go and make another decision to go somewhere else or do something else. So don't think of it as like this black and white thing. Think of it as you can always pivot backwards or sideways as you go, right? Life is a journey and we're always kind of jiggy-jagging our way through it, and just keep jiggy-jagging. I don't think that's even a word or anything anyone says, but I say it. Okay, now have you ever heard of the analogy of letting go of the cookie in the cookie jar? I'm probably going to totally screw this up, but this is how I know of it. So you want a cookie, but the cookies, they're big cookies, right? And they just fit in the jar. And you put your hand in the cookie jar, you grab the cookie, and you go to pull it out. Well, now your hand is like bigger because it's holding onto the cookie, and you can't get the cookie and your hand out of the jar, right? You've got to let go of the cookie in order to get your hand out of the jar. So I like to think of things like that. So when you're trying to make a decision of, and you're going to lose something in order to gain something, with that thing that you're losing, you have to think of it as you're letting go of the cookie so that you can get your hand out of the jar. Otherwise, you're just walking around with a jar in your hand. You still don't have the cookie and you don't have your hand. Well, that's not the situation you want to be in. You gotta let go of the cookie, get your hand back. Now, in that analogy, how do you get the cookie? So I think I'm screwing it up because I want the cookie and my hand. I'm probably gonna break the cookie in half. And that'd be a decision that I'd make. I'd have to eat half a cookie and grab the other half a cookie. Anyway, if you know what I'm talking about and I'm totally screwing this up, leave a comment down below and let me know. Yeah, and then the last thing that I would say is another tip is just get help if you need it. Like I said, I started therapy just so that I could get help with making decisions. But yeah, don't be afraid to ask for help. So I hope this video helped you if you're having a difficult time making a decision. And if you want to leave a comment below if you found that it was helpful, or if you have other tips yourself that you have come up with that you think might be helpful to others, or if you have a decision that you're trying to make and you need help making it and you're not afraid to leave a comment, do that. If you like this video, give it a thumbs up and thumbs up. I went like this. Don't give it a thumbs down, give it a thumbs up. And then subscribe if you haven't already, and I will see you guys in the next one. See ya.